What's up guys, it's Chris. I want to tell you about the time I met famous author Ryan Holiday. And spoiler alert, he rejected me. But I learned 3 key lessons from him that were really insightful and hopefully they're helpful to you too. So first of all, if you don't know, Ryan Holiday is a famous author. He's known for his blog post, The Daily Stoic, and books like The Obstacle's the Way. He's huge on Stoic philosophy, which is a great philosophy that talks about leaning into discomfort on purpose to get the most out of life. It's all about discipline, and I'm by no means any expert on Stoicism, so do yourself a favor and check out The Daily Stoic and his books like The Obstacle's the Way and find out for yourself. He's a boss, he's got great ideas. Now, how did I meet him? Well, I was working at Google and he came to do a talk at Google, and it was a great talk. And one of the great perks of being at Google is that we get a lot of famous influencers and authors to come by and speak to us. So after his talk, he opened things up for questions, and I asked him a question. He called on me. And I said, what's it like writing a book? How do you know if you should write a book? And that brings me to the first thing I learned from him. He said, only write a book if you can't not write it. You've got to be so committed to doing it. You've got to love and want the sacrifice because it's going to be the most difficult thing you ever did. It's like going through labor. So whether it's writing a book or starting your own business, you have to be so compelled to do it. Otherwise, you probably won't make it through all the difficulty and the BS on the way there. So that was the first lesson that I took away from him. Now, for answering the question, he flipped me a coin, and he was doing this to all the people who ask questions. And the coin had something in Latin on it. And it said something like premediatum mori, which basically means foresee what could go wrong. And that was super helpful for a guy like me who gets so energized by his goals that sometimes he forgets to see what could go wrong and doesn't build a contingency plan. So for those of you out there that get energized by your goals, that's great, but make sure to foresee proactively what could go wrong, right? If you're starting a business, you're gonna run into some challenges. Foresee how you'll handle those challenges, or you're going into a call with a customer, objections might come up, things might go sideways in the conversation. Foresee how you'll handle them. You know, there was one time in my life where I took a big leap of faith and I left my job at Oracle before officially having my job at Google. And I made it through all the interviews at Google, but I needed these 2 board approvals, and basically they dragged their feet on it, hit a hiring freeze, but I had already voluntarily said I was going to leave Oracle to try and help out my manager, not blindside him. Long story short, I went into voluntary unemployment for 6 months when Google dragged their feet. I became a dog walker for WAG, and something beautiful came out of it, and I ended up getting the Google job eventually. But the point is, I wasn't thinking about what could go wrong. I was so caught up by getting the job at Google, so committed to getting it. I knew I was going to get it. I didn't foresee that maybe Google would hit a hiring freeze and I shouldn't have voluntarily offered to leave Oracle prematurely. And I do have to say, Tim Ferriss is another great thought leader also in Austin. He's got the book 4-Hour Work Week, and he talks about fear setting. It's helpful to see and project what could be the worst case scenario. That will actually give you a sense of confidence that if things do go wrong, you can handle it. And that brings me to the final lesson that Ryan taught me, and this is where the rejection part comes in. I went up to Ryan after, and I was really nervous to talk to him because to me, he's a celebrity. I love personal growth and want to be an author one day and even a speaker. And man, I was nervous, but I went up to talk to him anyways. And I told him how I loved his work. And at the time I had a YouTube channel, and I still do, called Pursuit of Possibility, which had a couple hundred subscribers, but just getting started. And I said, hey, I'm gonna promote your work. Would you ever want to be on my channel? It was a little bit bold, right? I probably should have expected him to say no, and he did say no. And so, yeah, he rejected me, right? But he did it in the nicest way. He let me down softly, and he said, hey, take my email and follow up with me, and you know, maybe one day I'll be on the channel. Maybe one day we'll get lunch, but not today. And it's funny, he was talking about saying no more in the talk that he gave all the Googlers, including myself. And the key lesson here is the more successful you get, and the bigger your goals, the more you gotta say no. You can't take on every request from someone else to have coffee or be on their YouTube channel. You can't do everything. You really gotta lock in and focus. I even have a mentor, this guy, Rich Robinson, shout out to Rich. He started like 8 companies as a keynote speaker, and I interviewed him on my other channel, Pursuit of Possibility. And even lately, he's had to tell me no a lot more when I ask for advice, and I completely understand. You know, he's leading by example. That's what you gotta do when you're successful. You gotta say no more. And so I did end up following up with Ryan, and he responded to me. He said, grow the channel and then we'll talk. So guys, hey, if this channel takes off and we grow it and we grow together, I'm bringing Ryan Holiday on, and we're gonna have an interview and we're gonna share some insights together. He's also in Austin, so you know, Ryan, shout out. I'm here too, downtown. Would love to catch up sometime and have you on the channel. Anyways, guys, remember that third lesson. Make sure you say no, and you're gonna have to do it a lot more the more successful that you get. So that was my encounter with Ryan Holiday. He's awesome. Check out his work. And again, remember the key lessons, the key takeaways. If you're gonna write a book or take on a business or do something huge in your life, you've got to be at a point where you're so committed that you just can't not do it, because there's gonna be a lot of difficulty, bumps and bruises, and sacrifice along the way. Number 2, remember premediatum mori, foresee proactively what could go wrong, have a contingency plan, and know the worst case scenario so you can be more confident as you move firmly in the direction of your goals. Number 3, say no more. No is hard to say, I know, you don't want to hurt people's feelings, but it's important. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like the video if you found it helpful. It helps with the algorithm. It'll show this video to more people who might benefit from the message. And feel free to share if you thought that this was helpful content. Love you guys, and looking forward to the next video. You guys rock.